Okay, this is the final round of the Oceanic Racing League. This is Division 2 and we are at Mexico. This is a very important qualifying session for Duels Daniel and I'm a Nubatron. They are the two championship rivals. As we have quali underway, the Williams is the first out, and we now have an Aston Martin going out. Now, Duels Daniel will be wanting to qualify on pole and run away with it in this race, because if Nubatron finishes P5 or lower and Duels Daniel wins, Duels Daniel can still win this championship. I don't see I'm a Nubatron being that far down, but we can always see, can't we? As I'm just getting everything up on the screen. We have a lot of people on their laps, and the most far forward of which is... oh, there's a 5 place grid penalty for MX in the Ferrari, as he has no front wing. The farthest forward driver is the Red Bull of F1 Twitch. So they weren't out first. The Williams of, I believe, Pro Gamer was out first. But we will see the first flying lap of qualifying for the final round as F1 Twitch is now underway in his Red Bull now, as we see yellow flags in sector 2 and 3. Drivers probably going slowly to warm up their tyres, as now coming down this long straight. You want to break it around 100 meters. You're coming up to this corner at about 331 k's an hour. Now down the gears, it is very hard to get this corner right. Sometimes the car can understeer. You've got to watch out for the oversteer on the exit. As now another long DRS straight coming up to another slow chicane that is again very hard to get right. Now turning it in, turning left, turning right. Does he go outside track? No, he doesn't. Now this double right-hander is a very fun corner if you nail it. Very satisfying, as he gets a bit of oversteer on the exit. Now coming up to this fast X session is very hard to invalidate your... it's very easy to invalidate your lap here and or spin the car on the curb. He nails it. He doesn't invalidate his lap. He gets through very cleanly. Now coming up to the stadium section, turning right in gear 3. He gets it inside the track. Now this hairpin is very nip and tuck, especially in the race. It's very easy to lose the car. Now through the final corner, you need to get a good exit, otherwise it can ruin your entire lap. The run to the line. He does a 1 minute 20.6, not a very fast lap, as we see Pro Gamer go 2/10 slower than that. Now, who is the next across the line? It looks like it is going to be Italian Husband. He's starting a lap. Do we see Duels Daniel on his first lap? Yes, we do. He's in sector 1. The DRS wide open coming up to the second chicane. He needs to get pole if he wants to win this, as we see K-Man going fast with a 119.1 as we go on board with the Red Bull here. Duels Daniel needs to get pole. It is crucial for him to get this pole so he can have the easiest way through the circuit on lap 1, because he needs to win this race if he has any chance at all, as we see a 117.8 from Banana in the Alpha Tauri. As what's Duels Daniel gonna do? He's gonna come through the final corner. It's looking fast. Very fast. What's it gonna be to the line? Is it gonna be in the 116s? Yes, it is. It's a 116.4. That is the fastest lap, even with Div 1. As I've now just got to fix my microphone. Just give me a minute. As that should be better. Now, I don't know if it will be better. Just let me know if it's better. as I'm getting told to go on board with X2 Mickey, but he's slow, he's letting another driver through. Looks like it was... I don't know who it was. As we see Iceland and Rhino do a 1:17.1, he had a rough Div 1 reserve race. As we saw him spin and get punctures in that race. Now he's another factor in this championship fight right here in this final race because he is quick. He may be able to snatch pole, he may do well in the race as well. Which could mean that he could give Jules Daniel some trouble. As how many people do we have out on a flying lap? It looks like ISO Skits in the Alfa Romeo, no he's in. As we see MX for his first flying lap. And we also see Boy Luke on his flying lap. We'll go off board with him while he finishes his lap. This could be an in-lap. It is an in-lap. So we'll go back to the off-board of MX, who I believe got a grid penalty at the opening part of qualifying. So he opens the DRS. He will drop 5 places back, no matter where he qualifies. So if he qualifies P12, he still has a 5-place grid penalty, and he will drop to the back of the grid. So ideally he will want to be in the top 5 somewhere, so that at least he can drop back to his P10, which in this league, especially in Div 2, anything is possible, as he invalidates his lap through the S sections. He will not be happy with that. But safety cars are inevitable in this league, so we'll see what happens. But for now, this is qualifying. This is what we're paying attention to, as X2 Mickey did a 1:17.6. As we now have K-Man out on the track, we'll go on board with him. Is he on a flyer? I doubt it, but I think he's about to start one. Or is he in? No, he's starting his flying lap now. We'll go off board with him. So now this straight is so long, as actually, yeah, he opens the DRS finally. He was a bit late to it. He'll be losing probably about half a tenth, if not more, from opening that flap late. As through the first chicane, does he get it neatly done? Yes, he does. This chicane is so slow. It is very difficult because in these Formula 1 cars, the faster you go, the more grip you have, with the downforce suctioning the slick tyres to the ground. So when you have slow corners, you're relying all on the tyre grip, and that's not even at the maximum as you go slower and slower. So you want to be carrying as much speed as possible through these corners and through those chicanes. That is very, very hard to do. As through the S section, he does it nice and neatly. No invalidations yet. Through the final part of the S, he looks like he got a bit of a wobble, but he keeps it inside the track limits. As he's coming into Sector 3, he's 2 tenths up on his time. Through the right-hander, he doesn't run away. He takes a bit too much curb, but it didn't seem to upset the car. But he runs deep. That will lose him costly time. As now through the final 2 corners he goes. What's it going to be to the line? No, he's in the pits. That could have been a pretty quick lap. As we see X2 Mickey 6 seconds down. Is this an in-lap? We'll see. It looks like it could be an in-lap, but it also could be a cool-down lap. We'll see, because a lot of other drivers are also on laps now, as we see Jules Daniel opening the DRS 3 tenths down on his time. We see Rhino potentially up on his time. As we have a driver in the wall, it's an Alpha Tauri. It's Stick AU. He's out. He's crashed into the wall, and that could impede people, but I doubt it. It looks like he was off the racing line, and he would ghost anyway. Now through the final 2 corners he goes. What's it gonna be for Rhino? It's looking fast. He doesn't cut it tight to the line, but he does a 16.8. That's the 2nd lap in the 16s. He's still 4 tenths down on Jules Daniel, but that is a mighty, mighty lap. So you see Rhino on an in-lap, I would imagine, because his battery is flashing, he is out of battery. But he has the DRS open, so is he on an in-lap or is he on a flyer? No, he's 1.2 seconds down, he's on an in-lap. As we see MX letting another driver by, potentially. He's weaving, but he has DRS open. He's getting out of the way of the Williams and getting out of the way of the Aston Martin. No, he hasn't gotten out of the way of the Aston Martin. He's completely blocked Italian Herbs. He's cut him off and he gets another 5-place grid penalty. And that will mean he goes 10 places back no matter where he qualifies. It looks like he was trying to get out of the way, but he just didn't. He went to the left. He was on the right side. He just looked like he was sticking to the right side of the track. And he didn't. He then suddenly moved to the left to get out of the way, but it was too late by that point. He needed to move earlier, as that has caused a dent in time for Italian Herbs' qualifying. As we see Jules Daniel on his final outlap, as we still see yellow flags in Sector 2. Looks like people just letting people by. No, it's a Ferrari, and yes, no, it was Ferrari just waiting up to let people through. Now, will Jules Daniel, Rhino, or Mickey improve, or will we see an outsider that hasn't set a lap yet setting a pole lap, such as Du Bois Luke or Iman Nubatron hasn't set a lap yet, and he needs to set a lap, because if he doesn't start close to the top 5 at least, it could give Jules Daniel the championship if Jules Daniel wins. As I'm a Nubatron through the chicane, he goes purple as we see Jules Daniel on a flying lap now, but we'll go on board with I'm a Nubatron as he's up the gears now into the S's, using all the track possible, not spinning it on the curb. And now through the final right, he gets understeer. He turns to the left. He gets a bit of a slide. It almost looks like an understeer slide. But it was still clean. It was still fast. Now into the stadium section. Through the right-hander. Now into the slow corners. What's he going to do? He nails the apex perfectly. He has so much control over that car. Now through the final 2 corners he goes. What's it going to be? It's looking fast. It's looking very, very fast. It's going to be a 1 minute 17.3, putting him P3 on the grid, as we now go to Jules Daniel, who's a 10th up on his time, which would put him P1 by 5 tenths, as we see Isai and Rhino out on his outlap. Rhino or I'm a Nubatron needs to set another lap and try improve. I don't see them beating Jules Daniel. He's such a dominant force here at Mexico. But what's Jules Daniel going to do? Will he extend his gap anymore? If he does, I don't see anybody else getting pole. As through the slow corners, will he nail the apex? Yes, he does. He gets it tipped in so seamlessly. As now through the final 2 corners. Oh, he gets a snap of oversteer. That'll lose him time on the exit here. But he does a 16-0. He could have gone into the 15s without that oversteer. That was costly, but he is 8 tenths ahead of P2 in this qualifying session. If he can carry that speed into the race, he will win with no issues, as we see Rhino getting potentially held up by his teammate. No, his teammate gets out of the way, as Rhino a 10th up on his time, but he needs to improve a lot more than a 10th to keep up with Jules Daniel. As we see X2 Mickey back in P3, it looks like he's pushing as well. As we'll go on board with the Alpine. He's 2 seconds down, he's on an in-lap, never mind. We'll go on board with the McLaren here, as he is up on his time a substantial amount. Through the right-hander at the end of the X section, through the left. He gets it nailed, no oversteer or anything to think of. As now coming to the final stadium section, through the long left-hander, you want to pitch it in perfectly. If you don't nail that apex, you can lose valuable time. Now through this right-hander, braking just under the safety car board. As now to the run to the line, what's it going to be? He doesn't cut it tight to the line, but he does a 1 minute 16.5. If Jules Daniel hadn't improved on his lap, that would have been very, very close to pole. As we see an Alpha Tauri to the line, he has invalidated. So I had to go quiet there for a minute. As we see Italian Herbs with front wing damage. I don't know what's happened to the Aston Martin. It's not very fortunate for him. He's been blocked by MX. He's now cutting the track to try to get back in time. But he was blocked by MX on what looked to be a pretty quick lap. He's not going to have time to set another lap. As we see Yeet McFleet joining back on the session again after a disconnect. And we see Ice Iron Rhino 2 seconds down on his time. That's an in-lap. As I think Jules Daniel is pretty comfortable in saying he's got pole position here. He can just sit in the pit lane as we see the boy Luke lining up his final lap of this qualifying session. He's going very slowly, getting temperature in those tires. He is a contender for pole on his day. Does he have pace here in Mexico? I don't know. Nobody knows because he hasn't set a lap yet. He will be looking to not make any mistakes on this lap because this is the only chance he gets. As of now, he will not be able to set another flying lap unless he crossed the line now, meaning he only has one lap. He's going very slowly. So we see an Alfa Romeo with wing damage. That would be ISO Skids. As now, the boy Luke will go on board with him here. He gets a good exit. No oversteer to watch. As now across the line, he goes for the final flying lap of his. He needs to get this right. If he does not get this right, he will not set a lap and will start from the back of the grid. As now coming down into turn 1, braking at 100 meters, gets it tipped in nicely in gear 4, stays in gear 4 for the exit of the chicane, gets no oversteer, opening up the rear wing. As now to the second chicane. How is he going to handle it? He's at 28 milliseconds down on his last lap that he had to get out of the way of someone, I would assume, or he invalidated. As now coming through the double right hander, nails it in gear 4. Now to the S section, to the left, back to the right, don't hook it on the curb, back to the left, now back to the right and then back to the left again. He absolutely nails it, but he's nearly out of ERS. That engine won't be pumping full power out. He will be losing time down the straight, but he goes purple to the second sector. Now through the final few corners, will he have a pole position in his bag, or will him running out of ERS just cost him that little bit of time he would need? No oversteer to the line. He cuts it to the line as close as possible. It's only going to be a 1 minute 18.2, putting in P11. Nothing to talk about there. As we see Jules Daniel out on a lap, he's going even faster. He will probably go into the 1 minute 15s if he doesn't invalidate his lap and doesn't get oversteer coming through the final corner again. Riding off board, he's just on a knife edge in that Red Bull. He just has so much confidence to flick the steering wheel coming into the stadium section. He's 1 millisecond down on his time in the middle sector, but his fastest sector one was mighty, meaning that 1 millisecond will only put him 25 milliseconds down. Now this is where he can gain all of the time through the final corner. He doesn't get oversteer this time. What's it going to be for the line? It's going to be a 1 minute 15.9. The fastest lap by a mile and way faster than Div 1. It was an incredible lap, completely on the limit, well executed by Jules Daniel for his final flying lap. As everybody is done with qualifying, nobody is on a lap. We will see the end of this session soon, and we will see the race, the 36 laps of Mexico. As it's Jules Daniel P1 with a mighty 1:15.9, followed by Ice Iron Rhino, X2 Mickey, and crucially Iron Ubertron just in that P5 window he needs to be to keep the championship on his side. He'll be hoping to keep his nose clean, so will Jules Daniel. And then Nubitron is followed by Beano CE and then McFleet. That is the top 6. Any of those 6 drivers, I'm sure, can come out with the win, and anything is possible in these races here in Div 2. Mexico is a tight track, good for racing though, because there is the big long DRS zones. They're gargantuan. As anybody can come out winning this race. I'm sure there's plenty of safety cars to come. You want to be underfueling your car as the drivers get their strategies ready on the grid for the formation lap. As we've just got a bit of delay here. We're just waiting up on someone. So we've now got another start counter. As the formation lap will get underway any minute now here in Mexico City. As it is the formation lap, the drivers will need to be keeping their eye on their tyre temperatures. As we see Jules Daniel starting on the medium tyre, a lot of the other drivers just starting on the hard tyres. We see I'm and Nubitron also on the mediums. The 2 championship rivals, you can tell what they're doing. Jules Daniel wants to bolt away. This could also help if there's a safety car. That could swing their way. As we see Yeet McFleet on the softs, bagging on a safety car 100%. But I'm a Nubitron and Jules Daniel have definitely gone for the softer compound of tyre compared to the rest of the grid on hard, because Jules Daniel wants to run away with this race, hopefully winning the championship, and I'm a Nubitron doesn't want to drop down the order past P5, and he wants to make up as many positions as possible to make sure he secures this championship. As I'm sure these 2 drivers will keep their noses clean, but who knows? It's anybody's game. As let's see what the tyres of the other drivers are on. Most of them on the hards. We see Banana also on the softs. As we see Du Bois getting disqualified from the second, he'll just be on his grid, far back on his grid. As we see Iso Skits on the hard tyres in the Alfa Romeo. And we see Lex Dog on the mediums looking to make up positions on the start. Same with the Alfa Romeo of Italian Herbs. He's on the hard tyre as he's slipping and sliding. I mean, it'll give him tyre temperature, but it'll also be hurting his tyre wear. As we see MX on the hard tyres in the Ferrari, he'll be looking to not make contact and stick AU on the hard tyre. I think starting on the mediums could very much work for Jules Daniel and I'm a Nubitron, and if there is a safety car, that is very, very good for them. As Jules Daniel now lining up on the grid, we have 4 drivers disqualified from the formation lap, and that will give them a compromised start. As we see Jules Daniel, will he get disqualified or will he line up on his grid? Well, it looks like he's lined up on his grid very well. That could be 0.01. The predicted pit stop strategy is a 1 stop from hards to mediums or mediums to hards. That's interchangeable. And if you're starting on the softs, that's going to be a full compound rainbow of a 2 stop. Softs to mediums to hards. As it is 5 red lights underway here in Mexico City. And it's a yellow flag in sector 1, 2, and 3, and we're underway here in Mexico. As is that an instant safety car? Yes, it is. It's a glitch. As it's a safety car, we're gonna have a safety car start to this Grand Prix. I think the game glitched on the light and everybody got stuck on their grid positions, and it instantly brought out the safety car in this race. And that means it'll be a wet weather-esque start, but in the dry for the championship. That will help a lot of drivers who aren't good at their starts, and it will help no traction control players, because that is sometimes a disadvantage on the grid with cold tyres. As now the drivers will get another chance to get their tyres up to temperature. It was quite a weird glitch, but it will take a bit of excitement away from the start, but it will be a single file start to this Grand Prix, and it will help the medium runners preserve their tyres just a lap longer. As Jules Daniel, I don't think the safety car can be in this lap because it just came out this lap, but anything's possible, as it isn't in this lap, as we're going to have 2 laps under safety car here on the start because of a glitch, meaning this lap will effectively be 34 laps instead of 36, meaning if you underfueled the car now, you are very happy, because that will bring your fuel just up to par. And in this league, safety cars are inevitable, so you can probably underfuel your car a lot more than that. This also helps the 2 soft tyre runners of Mick Fleet and Banana, as we've seen Cayman and your boy Luke just going back and forth, and Cayman's trying to overtake everyone under the safety car. He's overtaken 2 drivers, as also your boy Luke on the soft compounder tyres. All the people on the softs and mediums will be very happy with their choice now, because this is just preserving their tyres as safety car, as we have all 17 drivers behind a safety car. We haven't seen this in this league for a long time, because normally it's a DNF if there's a safety car. As Yeet McFleet's been out of the session again, probably lag, and he will join back if he can. That's very unfortunate for the young driver. As sad, the Mercedes have came in trying to overtake another driver under safety car. Yes, he got a collision penalty and damage to his wing. Sergi Wright came in, stopped overtaking under full course caution. That is dirty driving, and you've hit the back of someone and you've paid the price for it. He's gotten a penalty before we've even gotten underway. That is very unfortunate for the Mercedes. So we now see Willie try to make a dash for another driver now, as it looks like he's backing off to make it so they're behind the safety car, so the safety car doesn't go in this lap. Has it worked or not? Because he'll want the safety car to extend so he can box as he gets overtaken by the Aston Martin. And he's going to get overtaken by the boy Luke. No, it is safety car in this lap, so Cayman will have to box for his damage. But now Jules Daniel will be given the task of leading the pack away in this race. And if he gets it right, he can run away, so can I'm an Ubertron. And the soft tyre runners will be making their way through the field. As is Yeet McFleet back in this session. No, it doesn't look like it. That'll be costly. But when's Jules Daniel going to run away with this single file start to this very unorthodox Mexican Grand Prix? As it looks like he's bolted early. He's gone. He's gotten an 8, nearly a 1 second lead on the restart as Pro Gamer gets a penalty for collision. As up the back it looks like absolute carnage. What's going on up the back? The grid is already spread out, and it's only down to P7. As Vipermon spins it around. Oh no, we see just some drivers coming into the pits. But look at the gap from P7 to P8. That is insanity. As we see Nubatron sticking into P4s. Banana obviously gets through on Yeet McFleet because Yeet McFleet's an AI. As Banana finally gets the move done, as Cayman is out of this section. Unfortunate for the drivers. There's yellow flags in Sector 3. I'm hoping this isn't another safety car, otherwise nearly all the laps in this race would have been under yellow flags, as it doesn't look like it will be a safety car. As we see F1 Twitch slow in P16, Cayman's left, as you would imagine. And Jules Daniel has just run away with this race. He's executed this perfectly. It's exactly what he would have wanted. As we see Banana on the soft tyres up to P5. He needs to make more places than this as he's catching up to one of the championship contenders, I'm an Ubertron, who isn't doing what he thought he might do on the medium tyres, as Jules Daniel does a 1:20.1 for the fastest lap of the race. But Nubatron needs to get a move on here, as we see another yellow flag in Sector 3. It looks like ISO Skits has spun it around. No, he's just losing positions, potentially just braking a bit early. Little things like that. But Jules Daniel... Oh! He nearly lost the car! That was nearly a commentator's curse right there. That will be losing him time. But he was sideways there. That could have been championship over without even asking. He needs to be more careful. As Nubatron and X2 Mickey are scrapping it out side by side. Nubatron has finally gotten his move on. And he's trying to go right around the outside of this double apex. As they're going to go side by side into the S's section. This could end in calamity. I'm a Nubatron. But it doesn't. As X2 Mickey backs out of it. But there's still more attacking to come from X2 Mickey as who he can make a difference in Nubatron's championship. He's holding him up massively as he doesn't make a move coming into the stadium section, does X2 Mickey, to get back at him. So he actually runs wide and he's losing time. So now the Alpha Tauri nearly goes side by side as we see a yellow flag in Sector 2 and Sector 3. It's a McLaren slow. Looks like the boy Luke as DRS is now enabled as Jules Daniel enters another lap. But Nubatron got that move done, and as long as he doesn't crash right now, he's leading the championship. As if he gets into another fight with X2 Mickey, it could be bad for his championship. I thought they were going to crash in those S's, and that could have been championship over, but they didn't. They kept it clean. As Rhino already 1.9 seconds to Jules Daniel, as we see Stick and Lexdog side by side having a little fight here. Let's take a look. So they're going to go side by side into the first corner, as we see Lexdog on the mediums should have more grip, as there's yellow flags in Sector 3 again. It looks like F1 Twitch, as we see them Alpha Tauri still side by side with Lexdog. As will they go side by side again into this next chicane? No. Will we see a move with Stick? No, it doesn't look like it. It looks like that battle is done for the moment. As let's go back to I'm a Nubatron's race, as we see X2 Mickey catching up to him again, as we see Beano T looking right around the outside of Banana as Banana, another soft tire running person, disconnecting from this race, as the boy Luke picks up a 3-second time penalty for track limits. But is X2 Mickey within the DRS of I'm a Nubatron? Can he make a difference in this race? It looks like he has got the DRS. Will he be able to make a move on I'm a Nubatron? It doesn't look like it. Nubatron will have more grip on those mediums. Is actually Mickey pulling out to the right-hand side for a move? Yes, he will. He will think better of it. He will just back out and give Nubatron the favourable line. He'll be looking for a move into this next chicane as Banana joins back. But Beano CE will maybe get involved if X2 Mickey goes for this move. He dummied the move, but he hasn't gone for it. As Nubatron just keeping his head cool, as Jules Daniel's got 2.5 seconds to the car in second place. It's looking good for him right now. All he needs is the pieces to fall into place, and I'm a Nubatron to drop to P5 or lower. But it's not looking likely. Nubatron so far is just holding his own. As we see a yellow flag in Sector 2, it's a McLaren, it's the boy Luke. It looks like he's spun around at the double apex right-hander. That's unfortunate for him. As we see a big grouping of cars gaggling around I'm a Nubatron, as they're just all in that stadium complex. But we also see further back, MX, after his grid penalty, has gotten all the way back up to P8, and he's chasing down Italian Herbs. And we see Banana are just probably looking to catch up, but his soft tyres will be becoming second hand in this Grand Prix. And it's not looking good for the people who started on the softs, as they will have to box early for their two-stop strategy. But it looks like his tyres are past their best. He needs to start gaining as MX gets past on Italian Herbs. Sorry I missed that. But Banana, just if he doesn't get a move on, he's not going to get back past Beano CE on the hard tyres. It is a big gap, but Banana needs to close that if he wants to get back involved with that Mickey Nubatron fight, as Nubatron's gotten outside the DRS range of Mickey. That will be a huge relief for I'm a Nubatron, as right now his race is looking calm, as we see the boy Luke getting another time penalty for track limits. But Nubatron will just keep his pace as he gets a little snap of oversteer coming into the detection line. That's got inside DRS for X2 Mickey. Let's go on board with him here. Will he pick up the DRS? Has he picked it up? Yes. No, he hasn't. No, yes, he has. He just opened it a bit late. But that will just keep him in Nubitron's DRS down the next straight and just close him slowly back up. As we see Lexdog and Vipermon getting 3-second time penalties for track limits. They're fighting on the edge of the points for best of the out of the points. But wait, Mickey needs to get a little move on here. He needs to stay consistently in that DRS as we see your boy Luke around again at the final corner. As it's not causing a safety car. Those soft tyres are not doing him well. Now onto this straight. So we see Jules Daniel, he's used those mediums to perfection. He's gained so much time as the boy Luke leaves the session. Potential rage quits there, but he hasn't retired the car. But Rhino in nowhere's land compared to Jules Daniel. He's just used all that extra grip that he has in that Red Bull to extend away from the McLaren. And then Nubitron's just holding his own well against X2 Mickey, who has not a lot of battery. Nubitron's running a little bit better on battery, but Mickey will be gaining down the straight here on Nubitron. I don't think it will be enough as Nubitron will be deploying his ERS in this Grand Prix. As no, it's not close enough as X2 Mickey just biding his time a little bit. But if he wants to create any sort of effect in this championship, he needs to get by Nubitron, and Nubitron will need to get overtaken by BNOCE. It's looking like it's early stages in this Grand Prix, but it is looking like Jules Daniel is not going to win this championship because Nubitron's just keeping his head cool, and he's not making any mistakes. But anything can happen in this amount of laps, as Skits makes up 2 places on Lexdog and Stick, as they both pit. As Stick pits for a new front wing, so does Lexdog. But the Alfa Romeo of ISO Skits not running the greatest pace, and he's also got a 3-second time penalty, so does Banana. But Skits with a safety car, he's been proven to cause troubles on his day, as we see the Alpha Tauri of Banana around. He has no front wing in Sector 2 through the S's. He probably hooked it on the curb on the right hand side. It's very easy to do, as I wish we could see a replay of that. As we see another yellow flag in Sector 2. It's a Williams, it's a Pro Gamer. He's not out of the race, so it won't cause a safety car. He hasn't picked up damage. It's probably just a nice, neat pirouette, 360, and getting back underway, but that's lost him positions, and he's now out of the points. As we see disconnected McFleet still in these points, as Vipermon picks up another penalty, and we see Banana in the pits. Yeah, his soft tyres are done. As he stretched them to lap 10, he can pit for hards until the end here, but he's pitted for another set of soft tyres. The strategy from hards to mediums, mediums to hards, is a lap 11 pit, I believe. So he could have stretched long enough to go onto the hards and stretch to the end, potentially. Especially with safety cars, which I'm sure will come at some point in this race. It would be a shock if it isn't. But then again, with that glitched restart, potentially that might have glitched safety cars, as we see the boy Luke in the pits on his soft compound tyres. What tyres has he gone onto? Yes, he's going to the end on the hards. But there's yellow flags in Sector 3. What's causing it? It looks like just a car slow down the straight. As this is a brilliant battle here with Pro Gamer and Lex Dog. They're going to go, that's going to be a safety car. Both of them have crashed out of this race. Oh my, it is a safety car in this race. But they just collided down the straight. It's turned into calamity. They were going down the straight, and it looks like the Haas just turned left into the Williams, as we see the McLaren just going straight through the Williams with ghosting. But that brings Jules Daniel's reign to an end for the moment. Jules Daniel will potentially pit, as it is a safety car, and will Nubitron pit as well. They are both on the medium tyres. They could pit for hards until the end and bid on more safety cars. I said safety car would come out. I didn't know when. but that also plays well for Nubatron, but it could also play badly for Nubatron. It brings him closer to Jules Daniel, meaning he can get potentially a good restart and ahead, but also it brings X2 Mickey and the entire grid behind him back into play against I'm a Nubatron, meaning there could be a contact or he could drop out of the top 5. Anything is possible. But this man, Jules Daniel, is just coping with the pressure brilliantly. He is not faltering at any point yet, as will Red Bull execute a good pit stop into the pits. As it looked like a double stack for Red Bull, they're a bit slow on it, but he's got it on, and he's not going to get jumped by I'm a Nubatron. As X2 Mickey hasn't pitted, he's gone for track position, so is Oceania Rhino. That could cause some implications if they can get in the way on their old tyres and hold up Jules Daniel, but that puts the two championship rivals right next to each other on track. We've known championship rivals to make contact before in high pressure situations like this. Could we see a championship rival crash, almost like Suzuka back in the 80s when Senna and Prost were scrapping it out for the championship and there was a crash between them? Will we see that Nubatron can win the championship that way if he isn't penalised for it, if it isn't his fault, if there's a crash between them? It could go either way. As it stands, Jules Daniel won't win the championship, but he is a net P1, but that also brings I'm a Nubatron a net P2, because unless there's another safety car, Iron Rhino and X2 Mickey, when they pit, will drop to the back of the grid if we all form up under safety car before the restart. But they're obviously playing long, knowing that safety cars are very inevitable in this league. That crash was just so bizarre. I went on board with them, and they were side by side. It was a beautiful fight, and then I don't remember if it was the Williams or the Haas on the right side, but they just turned left into the person on the left-hand side of the track and just caused the contact. And it's caused a safety car. It happened to be I'm a Nubatron's teammate, though. Back markers should pit to get out of the way for the restart. I doubt they will do that. How many back markers are in the way? Just one. It is F1 Twitch. That shouldn't cause too much issues because he will get the blue flag waving I'm a Noob through on the restart. As it is a complicated situation, because if the Red Bull doesn't get out of the way, it could drop Nubatron back down the grid. They could potentially even make contact and give Jules Daniel the championship. But then you could also say, I doubt that Nubatron was in a call with Pro Gamer, but that could have been deliberate to help his teammate, even if Nubatron didn't ask for it. He could have been thinking, hey, I can potentially bring my teammate back into this championship, even though he was already leading it. But as it stands, I'm a Nubatron will win this championship by quite a margin. As this has come down to the very last race, it's very tense. So we see this will bring the boy Luke back into it. It'll bring ISO Skits back to the pack. It'll bring everyone back to the pack, as we still see Yeet McFleet lagged out. I don't think he plans on joining back in this race, but if he does, he could make a difference on this restart and just get back through the grid. If he can do that, if he joins back, it could be good for him. But his team, here's the common theme here. People who could be having a good result have their teammates DNF'd, except for Jules Daniel. Like, if you look at Iceine Rhino, he's looking at a good result, his teammates DNF. If you look at I'm a Nubatron, his teammates DNF. If you look at Yeet McFleet, who could potentially get a good result if he joins back, he has his teammate DNF'd. If F1 Twitch DNFs out of this race, that would be very interesting because A, that could cause another safety car, almost screwing over his teammate more, but also that would mean all the drivers that are looking for a really good result would have their teammates DNF. Luckily, Rhino doesn't have his teammate DNF. I meant, sorry, Bino C has his teammate DNF when he's looking for a good result, not Rhino. I did say Rhino before, but his teammate is having a bad race. It's interesting to see the difference between first and second drivers here, or, well, first and second drivers in this race. Because we see Rhino up in P1, whereas the boy Luke's having a rough race in P12. And then we see Jules Daniel in P3 and his teammates lapped. A safety car in this lap as the whole grid's formed up. So let's go back to the restart here, as Rhino will be leading away the pack. Yeah, there are a lot of lead drivers in these teams that are just outperforming their teammate by a very big margin. It's interesting. But Jules Daniel will be looking to carve his way back through the field. Imanubitron will be hoping to follow him and not drop back in this race. But he has what looks like lap traffic of Stick AU behind him, who could get in the way, as it's Ice Iron Rhino storming off into the lead on the restart, as he's 5/10 clear, but is Jules Daniel gaining on X2 Mickey? No, he's not, actually. Imanubitron is right on his tail, nearly got rear-ended. Let's see this. This could be an interesting fight. These are the two championship rivals side by side on the track, or right behind each other on the track, as there's blue flags getting waved everywhere for the lap traffic. As now we see Jules Daniel trying to get past on K-Man, as Jules Daniel just plays the patience game. He doesn't want to make contact with the driver in front, jeopardizing his championship. And I think Imanubitron could have attacked Jules Daniel into the first corner, but he knows he's won this championship as it stands. As long as there's no incidents, he wins. So he's just playing the slow game. As we see a Ferrari around in the wall, it is MX. He's just broken his front wing. He's snapped on the curb. It's just straight into the wall, darting into the wall. As that's yellow flags in Sector 2, there's still blue flags getting waved everywhere. Ice Iron Rhino just playing a long game, and it's working, but Jules Daniel and Nubitron are right there, followed by Bino C. And Bino C is on the soft compounder tyre. He has so much more grip than Imanubitron, as you would imagine, if those are fresh soft tyres. So, if he can get past, that'll put Nubitron in P5. If Jules Daniel gets into the lead, that will put him in the lead of the championship temporarily, but once Rhino and Mickey pit, it'll be different, as Nubitron would be back into P3, back exactly where he was. Actually, no, that would put Nubitron P2 on track, as we're just on board with Bino CE here. Is he making any divots into Nubitron's attempts? It doesn't look like it. Let's check tire life here. As we see, yes, those are pretty fresh soft compound tyres, as we see Ice Iron Rhino and Mickey on 15-lap-old hards, Jules Daniel, Nubitron, Bino CE, and Italian Herds all have 4-lap-old tyres, and then a lot of the grid just has under 6-lap-old tyres, and there's just the 2 leaders that have tyres older than that. Those are the only 2 to have not pitted in this race. As we see Rhino getting on with the job at hand, just running away, really. He really is just running away. He's not letting anything get in his way. He's 1.3 seconds to P2 behind, as DRS is now enabled, as we see more blue flags on those flag boards. As now Jules Daniel will make a dive on next to Mickey. No, he's not close enough, but DRS is enabled on this lap, meaning down the straight to the stadium section, it will be DRS for Jules Daniel if he can keep within a second. But that also gives a Nubitron DRS, it gives Bino CE DRS as well. And those are all the top 5 with DRS as it stands, except for X2 Mickey on Ice Iron Rhino. But Jules Daniel and Nubatron are definitely getting held up behind X2 Mickey. You can see there's a grip difference there. As through the S section, you can just see Daniel having to back off a bit potentially as he opens the DRS. He's going to use ERS. No, he isn't. As there's yellow flags in Sector 2, it's ISO Skits. Is he out of the race? No, he's not. But that is calamity as he's slowed down on track. Looks like he's just letting other people by before he rejoins onto the track. Good man. Not impeding anybody as he gets back underway. But now, the back straight. As Jules Daniels gaining on Mickey, gaining on Mickey, gaining on Mickey. He'll pull to the right-hand side of Mickey. And now, will he go down the inside? No, he's passed before the braking zone. Lovely stuff by Jules Daniel. And now the chase is on for him to get back into the lead, with Ice Iron Rhino in the lead on old hard tyres, as Jules Daniels instantly got back into the DRS of Ice Iron Rhino, as Nubatron following Jules Daniel through down the inside on X2 Mickey. This is crucial for him, and he gets the job done. He just has so much extra grip than X2 Mickey in that Alpine, as now the two championship rivals find themselves again on track together, but I'm a Nubatron in the more advantageous position as he is still in the lead of the championship, as Daniel needs to get into the lead and Nubatron needs to drop down to P5 if Jules Daniel wants any chance at all in this race for the championship. It could come down to the final lap as we saw in Saudi Arabia. It's just Nubatron would have sealed the championship at that race if it wasn't for Ice Iron Rhino getting a last lap win in the race. Just last corner sent it. And that is why this fight is even possible, because of Ice Iron Rhino. And now Ice Iron Rhino finds himself leading again in the midst of the championship fight. Well, around the championship fight. He's involved with it as Jules Daniel sails into P1. I don't think Ice Iron Rhino is interested in fighting the two championship rivals. He does not want to be the reason someone loses the championship. As we see Rhino go through for a second, he could have been disconnected, but he wasn't. As let's go back to I'm a Nubatron, who's making a move down the inside on Ice Iron Rhino. And he just has that more grip again, just like he did on X2 Mickey. Just those fresher tyres playing the advantage, and now the two championship rivals are 1-2. Can I'm a Nubatron catch up to Jules Daniel and just steal the lead and just get a win while he's winning the championship? It would be a good way for him to go, but Jules Daniel will be gaining 7 points on I'm a Nubatron here, but it's not enough, as we see Vipermon and Beano CE were side by side, but Beano CE looks to have made contact or just spun on the curb. They were very close on the track map. But we see Vipermon just pushing along, and Italian has his Jules Daniels. That's the fast lap on the race already on those hard tyres. Just the lighter fuel playing perfectly for him. And he's followed by I'm a Nubatron. But Jules Daniels already out of the DRS as they see Ice Iron Rhino gaining on Nubatron, but he's not going to have the grip to make a move and all the speed down the straight to just get past him before the braking zone. As will he try and make a move into the second chicane? We'll watch as he opens that rear wing. He's not going to use his DRS as we see yellow flags in Sector 2. It is F1 Twitch, the teammate of Jules Daniel. Is he trying to cause a safety car, or has he just spun on his own just as it was getting exciting at the back? F1 Twitch has no front wing. He's going to be slow, but your boy Luke gets through on Banana, but your boy Luke is also out of this race, as Jules Daniel gets a 3-second time penalty for track limits. That is huge for the championship. That puts I'm a Nubatron in the net lead of the race, and obviously the lead of the championship, as he is already. But now Jules Daniel needs to stretch that gap even more, and that also puts Nubatron in a position where even if he's in P5, he can potentially rely on Jules Daniel's penalty to win the race, especially if there's a late safety car. That is terrible news for Jules Daniel's championship. It's looking likely that it will go Williams' way, but Oceania Rhino is side by side with I'm a Nubatron, and he gets through at the braking zone. No, they're side by side as Nubatron just with the superior grip, but he backs out on the inside as Rhino is now through. As that's Nubatron down in P3, but Nubatron will potentially make an impression back on the next lap with DRS. He doesn't have the DRS this lap as it's a double detection, but that is helping Jules Daniel. He's outside of his penalty range, but he needs to really get a move on now because he needs to be outside 3 seconds as X2 Mickey just dropping back from Nubatron a little bit as we see Beano C making up the position on the disconnected Yeet McFleet. But I'm a Nubatron. Oh, yellow flags in Sector 2. It is Vipermon. He's just spun. Doesn't look like he's picked up any damage. No, he hasn't. So there's not going to be any chance at a safety car. But I'm a Nubatron just running a stellar race here. Just exactly what he needs to win the championship. He's keeping a cool head. And he's using that ability to keep a cool head to keep him in this championship. As we've seen Jules Daniel and Nubatron go toe-to-toe on track many times. But now they're not toe-to-toe on track. But it is a position battle. Whoever has the position they need can win the championship, as Jules Daniel is in his place for the championship, but Nubatron isn't. Nubatron is in the place that he needs to be for himself, not for Jules Daniel. Right now, he's obviously in the lead of the championship. So we see ISO skits around in the third sector, or is that MX? It looks like it was ISO skits. Yes, it was. But F1 Twitch still just running without a front wing as well. It's very peculiar as he lets his teammate through. As now Rhino will catch up to him in a couple seconds time. As we see I'm a Nubatron just not using the DRS to his advantage. He's not sending it. He knows he's in the place he needs to be. He knows he's won this championship as it stands. And he knows there's only 14 laps in this race. And ISI and Rhino and X2 Mickey need to pit. As once Rhino pits, that just puts Nubatron back in the place where he pretty much is guaranteed to not have any worries, as we see an Alpha Tauri around in Sector 3, and we also see ISO skits around in Sector 1, Sector 1 and 2, as we see Banana also off the track. This could be a safety car here. This is a lot of bunch up, as we see F1 Twitch not pitting for a new wing. ISO skits spun again, as there's a big train here at the back of the field now. It's a huge train. It goes all the way down the second straight. Oh wait, no, that's the leader pack. But all the way through this final sector here, there's just a whole entire line of drivers. It's insanity. That's now cutting back to Jules Daniel, as he gets another 3-second time penalty. He has 6 seconds worth of time penalties now, as the commentator's curse strikes again. And actually Mickey also picks up a 3-second, but Nubatron is ahead of Ice Iron Rhino. I think he got it done going into that third sector, but unless Daniel can get another stretch of 1.5 seconds, Nubatron's in the lead. And also, Ice Iron Rhino is in net P2. Jules Daniel needs to keep it within the confines of the track. It's very difficult to do here at Mexico, but he needs to do it if he wants a chance at winning this championship, because as it stands, if there's a safety car, he will lose this race, because he won't gap another 6 seconds again. I don't see it happening, as now Rhino gets 3 seconds, so that puts Rhino still in net P3, because he is not within 3 seconds of Jules Daniel. But Jules Daniel is 5 seconds, 5.1 ahead of Nubatron, but he needs another 8 or so tenths. And that's just not great for him, is it? Because right now he's not even leading the race net. And that's exactly what he needs to win the championship, as well as Nubatron dropping back, but it isn't going to happen. It isn't happening. Nubatron has kept such a cool head through this race. I just don't see it being possible. Obviously it is, but it just won't happen. Because Nubatron, if there's a safety car, will win the championship. Because Jules Daniels is the fastest lap of the race on old hard tyres. He knows he needs to push if he wants to keep that lead, which he's gotten into the lead now net. But Nubatron's keeping such a cool head that it just isn't happening. It won't happen. So let's go with an onboard lap with him. So let's just quickly see. No, there's no overtake attempt. Let's see what Nubatron's doing over the course of a lap. It looks like he's taking it really, really easy and just making sure he just keeps it in the track. I feel like he has a lot more pace in his bag, but he's not going to use it because he's being smart as they're running up to more lap traffic. But yeah, he's just taking it so easy as he runs a bit wide there. Like, he's fast, but he's also conservatively fast. He isn't pushing the limits and getting penalties like Jules Daniel. Jules Daniel should have just settled in when he had such a big lead. As we see F1 Twitch spun around, as Banana gets a penalty. There's a lot of penalties here in this race. And just going through the grid, there's nobody close enough to I'm a Nubatron, because if Rhino and Mickey get him, they need to get him by 3 seconds, and those two need to pit. So, unless there's a safety car and it's caused by someone and Jules Daniel magically has no penalties, Italian Herbs gets into P3 as the two drivers that haven't pitted now pit for medium tyres to the end. That's all they come out in their positions. Yes, they will, P4 and 5. But that puts Italian Herbs on for his first podium in ORL. That'll be a momentous occasion for him. But that won't be the star of the show. It'll be these two right here, dueling it out for the championship here in Mexico. But, as it stands, Nubatron's ahead in the championship, and Nubatron has sealed this. Because there's not a driver down. He needs to drop behind Italian Herbs, Rhino, and F2 Mickey. And Rhino is more than 22 seconds behind I'm a Nubatron. And he's not gaining that time in 10 laps unless there's a safety car. And in which case, if there is a safety car, Jules Daniel has 6 seconds worth of time penalties, and Nubatron will win the race. As we see yellow flags in Sector 3, it's Alfa Romeo of ISO skits around. He's slow. Has he just looped it around again? Yes, he has. He's spinning a lot in this race. He hasn't been on the F1 game in a while. He was at Sydney. So it's kind of understandable. But if he spins in the wrong place at the wrong time, it could cause a safety car. And just the absolute seal in Jules Daniel's championship. As it kind of already is looking quite dull here for Jules Daniel. Jules Daniel, as you can see, he's pushing and pushing and pushing. But it won't be enough, because it doesn't matter how much he pushes. It's reliant on this Williams in P2 not getting the race finish or dropping to P5 mysteriously, which would mean him crashing. So we see yellow flags in Sector 2. Looks like it's ISO skits again, slow. Yes, it was. Is F1 Twitch still running around with... Oh no, he has a front wing now. As we see MX get through on W Loop, but W Loop's disconnected from this race. So it's not really a fight. But the man of the day here is I'm a Nubatron, who, despite Jules Daniel being the fastest on the day, Jules Daniel hasn't kept it within the confines of the track. He's got himself some penalties. He's jeopardized his race. And he might win and get 25 points, but he won't win, and he won't win the championship. He will win the final round, but it will not be the championship as it stands. There's still 8 laps to go, but in this race, the next closest person to I'm a Nubatron is Italian Herbs, and he's 8 seconds behind him. So if you're looking at it in a sense that anything is possible, it isn't really, because if there's a safety car, that won't benefit Jules Daniel, that'll benefit Nubitron. And if Nubitron spins, he probably won't even get jumped by Oceania Rhino, because unless he loses his front wing or completely crashes out, there's no way of him finishing outside the top 5, because if he just spins, he's not losing 20 seconds. Or around about 20 seconds. As this race has just settled into a groove here, some people spinning. Looks like ISO skits again, maybe? No, there's just yellow flags in Sector 3, it wasn't him. Let's see what's going on with Skits here, he's spinning a lot. It looks, oh, he's nearly spun it into the wall there, that was a good catch. But there's nothing much going on in this race, everybody's settled into a groove. Jules Daniels looks like he's done his best here, but his best isn't good enough, because I'm an Ubertron with 7 laps to go in this race is in P2, and he needs to be all the way back here or here, which just isn't going to happen. As we see Bino C getting through on Italian Herbs. I don't know what happened to Italian Herbs, I think he pitted for the soft tyre, as we see Rhino back on the podium with X2 Mickey in P4. But those two won't be close enough to I'm an Ubertron by the end of this race to make an issue for him, potentially crash. And as long as Ubertron can finish this race at a half-decent pace, he's got it. So let's now bring our focus down to the midfield here, as we have a couple drivers very close to each other, as Italian Herbs and Bino CE are having a nice little scrap here, it seems. As Italian Herbs looks to be on fresh, soft tyres, and he will have DRS down this straight. So let's see, will he gain? This is him trying to get through on the Haas for the top 5 places. He has the DRS wide open, he's not going for the slipstream, he's just going to use the pure straight line speed against Bino CE. They're going to go side by side in the first corner, he's going to pull to the right. As they're side by side, what's going to happen? The Haas closes the door and Italian Herbs is forced to back out of it. Italian Herbs cutting the chicane. Banana gets thrown to Boy Luke further back. But now he has a second bite at the cherry. He's going to try to go right around the outside, because the outside turns to the inside here at this chicane because it's a left-right. And now he is through on Bino CE. And now Bino CE will launch another attack back at Italian Herbs, but I don't see it being effective because Italian Herbs is on fresh soft tyres. As we see Vipermon Lonely here just running his own race, as we see X2 Mickey getting another 3-second time penalty. These yellow flags in Sector 2, it's Bino CE out of the race. Bino CE has crashed out of the race, and that is a safety car deployed in this Mexican Grand Prix. That has slowed down Jules Daniel. But most importantly, that has brought I'm an Ubertron within 6 seconds. Well, it will. And I'm an Ubertron has pretty much sealed the deal here because of that. Because Jules Daniel will not put 6 seconds in 5 laps on P2. As unless I'm an Ubertron crashes with Jules Daniel, I'm an Ubertron, or X2 Mickey crashes with I'm an Ubertron. Now, on this restart, Jules Daniel's chances are over. He's pretty much lost his championship, and that safety car has lost him the race. As we see so often here in ORL, just a late, random safety car in this race. BOC was on soft tyres that were fresh, as Jules Daniel's gonna box for a set of softs, I would imagine. And he's going to try just push the pace, but we do see lap traffic will be in the way. But as we see, I'm an Ubertron also in the box. Interesting. as we see Rhino in the box. And Mickey's staying out. Mickey has stayed out. He'll jump Rhino for the podium places. But let's see. Rhino gets away. And they're all on, I assume, fresh set of soft tyres. They could be scrub sets. But I highly doubt it, as they get an extra set for the race, I think. But we see Dulce Daniel out here on his own on the track, X2 Mickey closing up behind him here under the safety car. And Dulce Daniel is just watching his championship hopes fade away, because even if Isai and Rhino can get past I'm an Ubertron, they all three of them have 6-second time penalties. And I'm an Ubertron's on soft tyres, and so is Italian Herbs. And Italian Herbs is not going to get past I'm an Ubertron. And even if he does, the 6 seconds is just going to be too much. Maybe Dulce Daniel might be able to bridge it on fresh softs. I doubt it in 4 laps. But it also depends when the safety car gets underway. But Rhino might not even get to the safety car. Yes, he will, because it looks like it's staying out one more lap to let just the cars at the back there, P5 onwards, or backwards, catch up. I assume it will get going next lap if up to P7 is caught up to the safety car. But this could be an intriguing end, because obviously you can see I'm an Ubertron potentially DNF with pressure. But considering he's kept his head cool the entire race, it doesn't seem to be going Red Bull's way in Season 1 of ORL. It looks like it will be going to Williams. Williams back to glory here. If this was real life, the world would be bouncing off the walls. This would be impossible in real life. But with this Equal Performance Championship in ORL, anything's been possible. Nubatron's proved it. He's had some good luck over this season, just solid results overall. Just by keeping his head clean, kind of how J-Man's done it in Div 1 to win the championship there. He wrapped it up a bit earlier, but Dulce Daniel has been the speedy one, but made mistakes over the course of the season, giving Nubatron his points. And all of these just have equated to I'm an Ubertron getting like points on points and points. As Dulce Daniel, I think, also missed out on a race. I think he missed out on either Saudi Arabia or Japan, and it's cost him dearly in the championship as well, because that allowed I'm an Ubertron to just extend his championship here into Mexico. And as it would stand right now, even if Nubatron didn't get those points, he was still ahead in the championship. And that would leave Nubatron still winning this race and still winning the championship. So you see ISO Skits potentially overtaking on the safety car. It's a bit sketchy. What's he doing? As the safety car is going to stay out another lap to let the rest of the grid form up, and Dulce Daniel's lost this race. Nubatron's going to win. And Italian Herbs can potentially even snag his first podium, as we see the Alfa Romeo go side by side with the Blue. Oh my god, there's contact on the safety car, and ISO Skits is out of this race. He tried to overtake Boy Luke under the safety. No, it wasn't Boy Luke, it was Isai and Rhino under the safety car, as Rhino gets 5 seconds worth of penalties for it. I don't understand how. Skits was trying to overtake under the safety car, and Rhino was trying to warm his tyres, and Skits has pulled alongside him, and he's just been swiped, but it was Skits' fault. He should not have pulled alongside Isai and Rhino under the safety car, as the safety car will have to be in this lap for a 2-lap sprint to the end. But Dulce Daniel, he's not going to stretch 6 seconds in 2 laps. And that will put him down the order, I think. Potentially even put him in P3. which is just so unfortunate for Jules Daniel. It was actually looking good at the start of the race. Nubatron qualified in P4, and Nubatron proceeded to then make his way up, but he was still getting put under pressure by P4 and P5. As it is safety car in this lap, Jules Daniel will have to get some sort of godsend restart if he wants to win. But Nubatron's just, he's played his cards right. And it has put him in the lead net lead with no penalties. He's going to win in the championship. He's held the pressure. He hasn't dropped down to P5 where he needed to be. As Rhino gets a penalty for contact with Nubatron, as now Rhino has 16 seconds worth of time penalties. As Jules Daniel has bolted early, he's gone, as we're going to go green as he crosses the line. He's gotten a good restart, as X2 Mickey looks to be holding up Nubatron, but Nubatron has no penalties. Will Jules Daniel make the 6 seconds? Put it on leader here so we can see the live gap. I doubt it. Oh! As Nubatron's down to P5! Nubatron is down to P6. He's ghosted. Has he disconnected from this race? This is a last second twist of fate in this championship. As Nubatron now side by side with the Ferrari of MX. As MX might make contact with Nubatron. If they make contact, that's Nubatron's championship over. As no, that's a big twist of fate in this championship. Nubatron's in P5. But he will jump Ice Iron Rhino, putting him in P4 because Ice Iron Rhino's got 16 seconds worth of time penalties. If Ice Iron Rhino had 6 seconds, this could still be alive. But that is calamity for Nubatron. But it also puts Italian Herbs. Okay, so Nubatron is 7 seconds nearly behind Jules Daniel. But the Achilles heel here is going to be Ice Iron Rhino, because he can gain that time on Italian Herbs, but Rhino can't gain 16 seconds, so still, unfortunately for Jules Daniel, it was looking bright for a moment. If Nubatron stayed in P6 but still got Rhino, that would have been Jules Daniel's championship. But sadly, unless A, Jules Daniel gets out of 6 seconds of Italian Herbs, which is likely, or B, Nubatron succumbs to the pressure of the Ferrari behind him, Nubatron will be crowned Div 2 championship. But this is coming down to the final lap of this race, as Jules Daniel is now storming off. He is nearly out of the 6 seconds he needs to be to Italian Herbs, but we see Nubatron not getting pressured by the Ferrari. There's no DRS. Nubatron hasn't made a mistake, as we will see Jules Daniel crossing the line soon, coming through this final section. He's pushed his heart out. He's going to get the win in Division 2, but will it be the championship for Jules Daniel? As now Jules Daniel is going to come across the line to win the Grand Prix, but will Nubatron make a mistake here in this Div 2 championship? No, he won't, as Ice Iron Rhino comes across the line. He gets another 5 second time penalty, and that puts Nubatron into P3 because he was outside the 6 second window of Mickey either. As that puts Nubatron in P3, and that crowns Nubatron the Division 2 Oceanic Racing League champion. That came down to the wire. I don't know what happened to Nubatron on that safety car restart, but it dropped him down. But he has managed to keep his nose clean, no penalties, and that has helped him win this championship, this race. It could have been good for Jules Daniel, this race. It looked good on that restart, but it's played into Nubatron's hands because of penalties, and that means Jules Daniel will win the Grand Prix, but Nubatron wins the championship. What a race. Again in Div 2, coming down to the final lap of the race. Congratulations to Jules Daniel for winning the race, but big honours to Nubatron for winning the championship. What an achievement for Iman Ubertron. He hasn't been there at the best of times, but he's played his cards right. He's stayed back, he's kept his nose clean all season, and he's used that to win the championship. Dulce Daniel will be kicking himself that he's made a few mistakes over the course of the season, just losing in points. If without those mistakes and without those penalties and without all the drivers around him getting penalties, that would have gone Dulce Daniel's way. But everybody had penalties around him. As we see, Italian Herbs also, nothing to shout down about, getting his first podium in ORL. But that wraps up the final round of Oceanic Racing League for this season. We'll see you in 3 weeks' time with whatever the first race for Season 2 of ORL may be. But GG to Iman Ubertron, and nice try, Dulce Daniel. You'll get him next time. But that leaves the mystery unknown. Who can win next season? As it is Dulce Daniel, followed by Italian Hers, followed by Noob, followed by MX, followed by Mickey, followed by Rhino, then Yeet McFleet, then Banana, then Luke, then Vipermon, then Twitch, then Stick, and then all of the DNFs here at the end, and then Skits, Beano CE, and Beano CE is where the retirements start. This has been down to the wire, this championship, but I am happy to say that Iman Ubertron's won it. I hope this was an entertaining race, and I hope you enjoyed it, and that will be the end of ORL Season 1. Goodbye.